Buckle up and get ready for a roller coaster ride of some tasteless humor, lots of heart, and radical truth with two scrappy chicks. Because adulting is hard, but we are thinking that laughing about it is just so much easier.
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad that you're here. And whether you've been listening since episode 1 or this is just the beginning for you, you just found this space, it matters that you're here. It really does. Because Solo and Sovereign is not just another podcast. It is a space where we center women exclusively. Our safety, our autonomy, our voices, and the power that we're stepping into, finally. And right now, the moment that we're living in is not subtle. There is a very huge shift. I mean, you can feel it, you can see it, you can hear it, you can reach out and touch it. Women are done minimizing, explaining, carrying things that were never ours to carry in the first place. We're taking a very large step back to regain our own lives and let everybody else take responsibility for their own, especially partners, intimate partners. And we're all choosing to stand together across our differences, across our experiences, not perfectly, but definitely intentionally, because we're remembering something really powerful, that we are not meant to do this alone. We are so much stronger when we share information with each other, when we tell the truth, when we support each other out loud and in silence. So as you listen today, I want you to hold on to this. You're not just listening to another podcast. You've chosen to be a part of something so much bigger, a growing, aware, connected community of women choosing something vastly different, a very different path. And step by step, voice by voice, we are building something that's very difficult to divide and silence. So let's get into it. So today's episode, I wanted to talk about this particular tool that I've heard about that has been around for a while. And even though I am a domestic violence survivor, I never heard about this from anybody. But it's something that can literally mean the difference between life and death. And it's called the Lethality Assessment Program, or LAP. So let's start with the truth behind why this needs to exist to begin with. So for such a long time, there has been a very huge gap between being able to identify when someone is in danger and actually getting them the help and the resources that they need in that critical moment. The LAP was created to close this gap, and it takes decades of research on intimate partner violence, and it turns it into something immediate, something usable in real time on the scene, in the moment, when those seconds, those minutes really matter. Because here's the reality. The tragedies that we hear about, it seems like it's daily. They're not random. They follow patterns. And I want to walk through a few recent cases, not to sensationalize them, but to show you how clear these patterns actually are. So in Louisiana, just this month, 2026, a man killed 8 children, 7 of them his own biological children, and then shot his wife during this domestic incident. In Arizona, a man strangled his partner to death in front of their children. In Massachusetts, a woman was beaten with the intent was clear to kill her. And this is not just here in our country or even in your state or in your city. This is a global problem. India, Australia, Germany, just to name a few, where all these cases are coming out of that you're hearing about. And this is not anything new, because I really had to ask the question, so is this just something that's been ramping up over time, or are we just now hearing about it because of the accessibility of this information via the internet, right? So different places, different families, but the same patterns. Escalation, control, jealousy, strangulation. That, by the way, is one of the red flags that's the most concerning from what I've been seeing, reading, and hearing, that is one of the factors that has a lethality component in it that's undeniable. If that behavior is happening in your relationship, you are at a much higher risk of having your life ended by your partner. And here's also another part that's hard but necessary to say out loud. Violence like this almost never just comes out of nowhere. There are signs. There are moments where intervention is possible, and all too often those moments are missed. And too often women are expected to manage those warning signs instead of being supported out of them. And the truth is this: you cannot love someone out of becoming dangerous or being violent. You cannot fix the escalation in violence. And staying without support can increase that risk, not reduce it. So here's how the LAP works. When law enforcement responds to a domestic violence call, they ask a series of 11 7 questions, which are yes or no. Simple questions, but really powerful ones. This first one is, has a weapon been used or threatened? Has violence been getting worse? Has there been strangulation? Have there been threats to kill? And have you tried to leave? Has she tried to leave? Based on those answers, they can determine if someone is in high danger. And if she is, then this is the critical part. She is immediately connected to a domestic violence advocate right there on the scene, no delay. Because as I said before, timing matters. It's not later or eventually, it's in the moment. And especially when someone is trying to leave the situation. You know, how many times have you heard that? Well, why don't you just leave? There are many attempts that are made, and they're not all successful. And every time that a person tries to leave, the violence escalates, and they're not always successful when they try to do it again. So this is why in that moment, when they have the support there, that if the support helps them then out of that situation, it's critical. You know, programs like the LAPR, they are essential, but they're not enough on their own, because the systems in our communities, those save lives too. Women have been conditioned for a very long time to manage men's emotions, to try and be patient, to de-escalate, to stay, to try and understand. Let's be clear about something. It's not a woman's responsibility to fix someone else's issues. I don't care what those issues are. It's not your responsibility. You can only be responsible for yourself. And if you have children, then you're responsible for your children. But another grown adult, the man, the guy in your life, he has to take care of those on his own. He can't make you responsible for everything that he feels or thinks or does. It just doesn't hold water anymore. So, and believing that it is something that women should be responsible for keeps women in dangerous situations for far longer than is safe for them. So how does this program work? And how does it save lives? Through connection. Having people who know what's really going on. Again, that identification, the people that you can call and be put into contact with, and the people who have the authority to step in. And that might look like a friend who knows the truth, or friends, a family member you can trust, a coworker who notices changes. And that's how I was able to escape my situation with all my children. Within a week, we were out, and we had to, and I say we, I didn't tell anybody, especially not my children. I lived that last week in that horrific situation, praying every single moment that nothing would happen so that I could still leave. I went about my business like I normally did, with no emotion, didn't talk about anything, but got myself ready and got my children ready. They just didn't know we were leaving until we were leaving. And that's what you need to do too. You need to move in silence. You need to probably not tell anybody except for a couple people, and those people who can get you out immediately, because the longer that you wait, the longer that you stay, the higher risk your situation is. Because in isolation, that's really where the risk grows, right? In secrecy. And that is why isolation is such a strong tool that is used by an abuser, because they know if they can keep you isolated, keep you sectioned off from any influence, from any outside opinion, advice, or eyes, they can remain in control. And connection is where protection begins. The LAP works best when it connects someone into this wider network. And the data backs this up as well. So when women are connected to advocates who are more likely to help access resources, and this avoids repeated violence. And we also need to shift the questions we ask. Instead of, again, why didn't she leave? We need to start asking, what support did she actually have? And what obstacles were standing in her way? How do we get those obstacles to be removed out of her way permanently so that she can move forward, her and her children, out of this situation safely and permanently? Because leaving isn't a single moment. It's a process, and it is very dangerous. It's very scary from beginning to end. The entire process, when my children and I fled into a domestic violence shelter, it was terrifying and liberating all at the same time. But I don't want to minimize that when I left, that we had to remain hidden. We had to remain out of sight, couldn't contact anybody, because that would not only have put our lives in danger, but also the people that were helping us. So if you want to take one thing from this episode, let it be this: danger leaves patterns, and the Lethality Assessment Program helps to identify them. And survival often depends on something a lot deeper: the connection, support, and knowing without question, again, that you are not responsible for someone else's violence. If this episode hit home for you, or if you're thinking about someone in your life, reaching out to a local advocate or hotline can be a powerful first step. And if someone approaches you, a family, a friend, a coworker, and they say to you the words that were said to me, it looks like you're involved in an abusive relationship. And when I admitted that I was, instead of being embarrassed, you have nothing to be embarrassed about, nothing to be ashamed about. When I admitted and was honest and truthful and admitted that I was, the very next question out of that person's mouth was, okay, when do you want to leave? And my answer was, right now. And within a week, me and my children were out. So think about your circle. Who's in it? Who might need to be? Who can you include? Again, if someone approaches you and offers you this window, hey, I'm recognizing something, confide in them, because that could be your one chance to go, to get out, to be free. I'm not saying it's all going to be over in that moment, but it's going to put you on the next path, on the right path, where you can make those next steps for you and for your children. So until next time, take care of yourself and each other, and we will be back with more information and more resources.